think on it. Seems silly now, arguing about such petty things. Try to think on the times you weren't arguing. Tanner fell silent, then loosed a strangled half-sob. Can't remember any. He blew his nose and peered out over the wrinkled handkerchief. My God, who'd have thought it? To lose both our houses like that? Who'd have thought there was so much power in that goddamn sludge? Stokes eased himself down to the cracked asphalt beside his neighbor. Sure seems like we must have made God shitless somehow. Sightseers began to collect on the road behind the two men, pointing and gawking at the twisted concrete and the half-submerged trailer. Those who knew Lyle Tanner shook his hand or hugged him and told him how sorry they were about Matty. By noon, cars were lined up on either side of the roadway, and people crowded together in clumps on both banks of the broken bridge. A short, sweaty man wearing a white linen suit used a battered leather briefcase to carve his way through the crowd and stand beside Lyle Tanner and Cable Stokes. He mopped the back of his neck with a handkerchief and announced to everyone within earshot, Just come from downstream. Big Sandy's black as a carload of coal. Contrary and Scoba both turned off their water intakes. They'll have to start trucking in drinking water soon. As his news percolated back through the crowd, the man stuffed his handkerchief into his pocket and held out his hand. You'd be Lyle Tanner, I believe? Tanner shook the hand and nodded. I'm Brady Jackson. I'm right sorry for your loss. Tanner nodded again. Appreciate it. Jackson handed Tanner a smudged business card. I'm a lawyer by trade. Been talking to folks downstream. The muck spread out and ruined lots of homes, but nobody's as hard hit as you. Cable here was just saying we must have topped off God's shit list. Sure seems like somebody ought to be made to pay, Jackson said. Cable Stokes made a tisking noise with his tongue. I figure the feds will come in, declare us a disaster, and start doling out some money. The feds? Jackson picked up a small chunk of broken concrete and tossed it over the twisted rebar spears into the black slime below. Instead of sinking, the chunk rode the top of the muck, flowing slowly between the standing piers. That hunk of concrete will be in the ocean before the feds even know your names. They're real quick to take your money, but slow as molasses in January when it comes to paying any out. When they do pay, they eke it out like the last gob from a toothpaste tube. Jackson pointed across the shiny black surface to the opposite bank. See that upended mobile home? Tanner nodded. That's mine. Oh, sorry, but hell's bells. You might as well know what's coming. If that home were brand new, the feds might replace it for you. But if it's not, they'll depreciate it like a totaled automobile. If it's more than 15 years old, like as not, you'll be lucky to get enough to replace the doormat. Tanner's shoulders slumped. Hell, we had it for at least 20 years. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, Jackson said. Look here, though. If you want to come out of this hole, you got to go after the bastards with the deep pockets. Hit the mining companies. They're the ones responsible. You got to haul their asses into court. Sue their hides off. Tanner's voice was tentative, uncertain. You're saying we should sue Big Coal? They're the ones made this mess. They're the ones who ought to clean it up. Jackson reached into his briefcase and pulled out a clipboard with a sheaf of typed forms. What I've been doing this morning is lining up some of the folks downstream for a class action suit. He held the clipboard out between Tanner and Stokes. Now, you two have been hit hardest, so you'd stand to get the most from a lawsuit. How much could we get? Stokes asked, barely a heartbeat before Tanner asked, How much would it cost? Wouldn't cost you a thing, less than I deliver the goods. Then I just take my cut out of Big Coal's payment. Jackson held a pen up beside the